The Emerging Enterprise Awards are brought to you by OCBC, Asia's best SME bank, and the Business Times.
When we talk about aging populations, most people think policy and healthcare systems. But one of the biggest challenges is far more everyday, helping seniors eat safely and with dignity. That's where today's guest comes in. MyCare Healthcare is a Hong Kong-based medical nutrition company creating specialized diets and innovative utensils for patients with dysphagia, diabetes, and kidney disease. Their solutions support seniors across the Greater Bay Area and are now reaching markets from Thailand and Australia to the UK and Japan. This year, they were named one of the winners at the Emerging Enterprise Awards 2025, a nod to their innovation and commitment to aging with dignity. Joining us is founder Francis Ho Tak, here to share MyCare's journey, what this recognition means, and where the company is headed next. Francis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting.
To start with, for listeners who may be unfamiliar, could you briefly introduce MyCare Healthcare and the specific healthcare needs your products are designed to address?
Sure. MyCare Healthcare is a Hong Kong-based company founded at late 2018. First of the company started, we mainly imported Japan elderly food to be sold in the Hong Kong market. But soon enough, we found out that the local elders, they are much more preferred to having the Hong Kong flavors or which they are familiar with. Therefore, 2019, we started up a Hong Kong factory to produce those soft food by local flavor, which included a few patents of know-how and the recipe of those additives and the thickness. And after a year of supplying those elderly soft meal for dysphagia, we also found out that most of the elderlies, they are probably having the problem with diabetes, or some of them having those kidney disease. Therefore, we also start up to having those menus which suitable for diabetes and the kidney disease patients. And after 4 years later to 2021, we found out that mainland China actually have more than 20% of the elderly groups, which nearly 100 millions of elderlies, they are also suffering on the same problem with those dysphagia. Therefore, we start up a Guangdong factory in Jiangmen area, which is like 10 times larger than our Hong Kong factory. And we also started to produce those soft meals and items to fulfill them. Which interesting is we have our own technique to rebuild the shape and the flavor of those pureed form, because before 2019, most of the dysphagia patients, they mainly having puree form food, which mixed it with vegetables, meat, and rice, which caused the puree become like brown color, which is not attractive enough to have it. And our technique is to rebuild by those materials, by pieces, by material, and by flavor to attract them, having a good meal with no matter having dysphagia problems or not.
Yeah, Francis, that sounds like a pretty comprehensive service offering that you provide to your customers. And I'm sure that is what impressed the judges at the Emerging Enterprise Awards. Can you tell us which award you won and what this recognition means for the team's growth and direction at MyCare Healthcare?
MyCare Healthcare won the 2025 OCBC Emerging Enterprise Sustainability Award. We feel so flattered to having this award, and that lead us to a new page. Besides IDDSI level 4, which the most serious patients of dysphagia food, we start to think what else we can providing to them.
All right, now the award process was pretty rigorous. So we had site visits, we had the judges pitch. What moments, Francis, stood out to you, and how did they change the way that you see your business?
I think the most interesting part is the online pitching, which is the first time for me to trying to attend an award with a Zoom pitching moment. And I saw another way of how they see MyCare Healthcare is we conquered and we study those manufacturing problems or the industrial problems that we have been solved.
Can you, Francis, share a recent breakthrough or success story or customer impact example that you really feel captures what MyCare is trying to achieve?
Recently, we are planning to have the level 5, which means and moist product that can fulfill for the retail market, which leads to our homestay elderly segment. And lucky to tell that we have entered the Hong Kong to both of the major supermarkets for over 30 retail points. Right now, the project's still in the startup basis, but the achievement of our first stage is to getting like 100 packs of our products to be sold on each spot of area. And after the first 3 days of the campaign, we seems possible to achieve this goal. And I believe soon enough that there is changes in homestay elderly markets.
All right, looking ahead, Francis, what are your plans for MyCare Healthcare in the green economy? And how do you see your business's trajectory evolving as sustainability becomes an even bigger priority across healthcare? Of course, the recognition has also shaped the next chapter in terms of growth, innovation, and sustainability leadership. So can you share a little bit about that going forward?
First, let's talk about our factory. Our factory started at the middle of 2023, and most of them are designed by me. And we thought of how we can get more eco-friendly to build up those systems, like the reuse of the waters of our sanitized chilling water, and also the solar panel of our factory at the rooftop, and saving like 5,000 to 7,000 Hong Kong dollars per month. And the second part would be, in my point of view, that we are able to saving those public healthcare expenses for the government by giving those patients enough nutrition and helping them to shorten the hospital staying hours. That is the connections between healthcare industry connected with the ESG most strongest part.
All right, fantastic stuff. And final question, Francis, there are a lot of young companies out there that wish to take part in the Emerging Enterprise Awards, just like you did. Why would you encourage them to do that?
Because I think all the good things start by an idea and by innovations, which OCBC are doing, are encouraging them to give in ideas and try to concur, which is the most strongest reasons for me to encourage them to pursue their dreams. Because it's easy to try and don't have to be afraid, because most of my friends, which by the reasons of difficulty, they will stop their brilliant idea to be started up. And I think it's a good message to tell those startups to keep finding any missing piece of the market and try to fulfill them. Of course, by studying hard and observation. I believe these actions will make our world coming better.
All right, there you have it. Some wonderful words of advice from Francis Ho Tak, the founder of MyCare Healthcare. And it will be interesting to see how MyCare continues to shape a healthier, more inclusive future for aging communities across the region. We'll be watching closely as you expand this mission. Francis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Stay with Money FM 89.3.
The Emerging Enterprise Awards are brought to you by OCBC, Asia's best SME bank, and the Business Times, recognizing the young, bold ambition of businesses in Asia under 10 years old.
Money FM 89.3.